What's up, everyone? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to get your music reviewed, you can hit up this email that's right here. But right now, you are tuned in to episode 3 of The Rundown, where I give you the rundown on some of the songs and projects that have dropped within the past month or so. Now, I am still going to be doing full project reviews. We got Lupe Fiasco, Big Sean, and also Migos dropping, so those will be getting the full review treatment. But right now, we're actually going to start by talking about a couple of the tracks that Big Sean has dropped leading up to his upcoming album, which is called I Decided and is due out February 4th. Last month in December, he dropped the single Bounce Back, and I really didn't have too much to say about this one, so I didn't do a solo review for it, because it's really just your typical bass-heavy banger. I do like the theme of this though, how he's spitting about just bouncing back after taking L's, so that's kind of cool, and I can see how people are inspired by that. But when I listen to the way he's flowing on here, just his delivery, his voice, and his cadence, it really reminds me of a Drake song. And I'm not saying he's biting Drake, because I know a lot of people say Big Sean started that style, whatever, I'm not sure who exactly started it, but either way the similarities are there. So this song wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary to me, and it didn't do anything to get me excited for Big Sean's upcoming project, so I feel it at about a 3 out of 5. But I would say the song Moves is much better. This is another bass heavy banger, and it's just a short track with a catchy hook. But Big Sean's flows on this are so fucking dope, man. Like, I regularly say that I think Big Sean just gets unwarranted hate, and it's because of tracks like this. Like, I know he does have some corny, questionable lyrics, and not all his songs are great. I'm not saying I'm a huge Big Sean fan, but he can flow his ass off when he wants to, and this song is a perfect example of that. So I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. I thought this song was pretty dope, and I do know that he has a couple of other tracks floating around right now, but I'm just going to wait until his album drops and we'll talk about them then, because it's right around the corner. But moving on, the second thing we're going to talk about is this Gorillaz single called Hallelujah Money featuring Benjamin Clementine. Now, I do consider myself a Gorillaz fan. I like their self-titled album, and I think Demon Days is one of my favorite albums of all time. I just really love pretty much every song on there. So I am familiar with how they try different styles and get a little bit weird with it at times. But this shit right here, whew, this was not a good track to me, man. I really didn't like Benjamin Clementine's warbly vocals. It just sounded like a drunk wedding singer or something along those lines. I wasn't a fan of his voice at all, but it does have a unique style to it, so maybe some people will enjoy it, but it just really wasn't something that I could picture myself listening to. And then you have this beat underneath it that is pretty minimalistic. There's not much happening to it, and you got this awful sonar going through all the way throughout. It's like a submarine. It's just driving through this fucking song. And I was not a fan of this, man. The only part on it that I kind of liked were those bridges from 2D because the vocals were kind of cool. But overall, this is probably one of the worst Gorillaz songs I've ever heard in my life. Now, some people have been saying that there's some political commentary on here about Trump and just the state of America and the world, and that's cool. You can dig through it if you want to. You might find something, but I just didn't like the sound at all, so I couldn't even get into that aspect of it very much. So for me, it's a 1.5 out of 5. Not much I cared for, but hey, if you like abstract shit that's kind of weird, you might like this one more than me. Now, the third thing we're going to talk about is a song from SiR, who was just signed to TDE, and the song is called Westside Boy. And honestly, this one to me is just your typical modern, wavy R&B track with a little bit of a dark vibe to it, so there's not really anything out of the ordinary happening with it. I think his vocals are cool, but they don't stick out in any type of way. And as far as the songwriting, he's just singing a bit about love and how he grew up on the West Side where gangs and violence were going on, but he didn't really get caught up in that shit, so he says on this song. So I don't know, it's a cool song, but as a new artist, especially one signed to TDE, this doesn't make me excited to hear more from him, although I will check and see what else he has in the works, and hopefully he can do something to set himself apart. But it does still sound cool. It has a nice vibe to it. You can definitely turn it up in the car if you just lean back on some late night shit. So I would give it a 3 out of 5. Up next, we have a project that I'm really enjoying so far, and it's just a 3-track EP that comes to us from Tuxedo. If you're not familiar with Tuxedo, they're a funk group made up of the singer Mayer Hawthorne and the underrated hip-hop producer Jake One. And they dropped a project that was self-titled in 2015, and it was really dope. It was actually one of my favorite projects that year, and this one really keeps with that same spirit because you're getting a lot of fun tracks with these bassy, funky bass lines, a lot of infectious vocals and hooks, so you can definitely file this one under barbecue music, man. I know it's the middle of January, but this shit will still be hitting come the summertime. I think it's really dope, so if you like this, make sure you check out their first project, and if you like their first project, make sure that you check this out, man. It is a lot of fun. I definitely fucks with the Tux. That's the title of the EP, and I give this one a 4 out of 5. And now, we are going to talk about a couple of these tracks off of Lupe Fiasco's upcoming album called Roguish Life, because even though he said he was going to retire, that shit ain't happening, and he's got a good 4 or 5 tracks out there right now, but I'm only going to talk about 2 of them, the 2 that I've seen most people discussing. The first one is Wild Child, and straight up, I really didn't like this one too much at all, man. It just sounds like some soccer mom minivan music, because you're going to get these pop vocals on the hook. The beat does have a nice groove to it. It's just some guitar shit, but it really just sounds kind of cheesy and corny to me, like something you might hear in a car commercial, or like I said, after that soccer mom drops the kids off, she gets in the minivan, she turns it up, she's like, yeah, I'm going home. Oh man, I can't wait to have my coffee all by myself at the dinner table. Yeah, we about to turn up to this Lupe Fiasco Wild Child shit. I was not a fan of this track. It doesn't really sound awful. I don't think it's trash, but if you don't like Lupe rapping on some overly poppy guitar type of shit, you're not going to really feel this one like me. So I give it a 2.5 out of 5. It's not all out trash, but I damn sure don't like it. But I do like the other song I'm going to talk about much better, and it's called Jump. It has this banging beat that's built on a stuttery vocal sample, kind of like Lil Wayne's track A Milli, at least that's what it reminded me of. And as far as the content, you got Lupe rapping about how he gets kidnapped by this trap rapper who's played by the female MC Gizzle, and she's forcing him to write rhymes for her, but then they get caught up in some shit. Long story short, they get sucked up in a UFO where they're actually debating smashing some alien pussy. No, I'm not making that up. So the story is pretty cool on here. It's definitely creative and unique, but it's also kind of cheesy a little bit in my opinion, but I still think it was cool, and I like the beat on this. You got some nice flows from Lupe as you would expect, and I thought Gizzle was dope on here as well. So I think a 3.5 out of 5 is fair here. It's a pretty dope track, but it's not something I was blown away by, although it was a fun listening experience. And the last track we're going to talk about is Joey Badass's song, Land of the Free. I think this is one of the highlights of 2017 so far, because you're getting this really nice sample-based production that's funky and soulful. And I do have to say those drums really sound like Biggie's track Juicy, which actually sampled a song called Juicy. It was an old track from like the 70s. It was an old soul track. I forget who it was that sang it, but I'll post that somewhere in this video. But either way, I like the production on this a lot. And Joey is just getting political, as you may have been able to guess by the title of this track. He's just rapping about inequality, oppression, how Trump is president, even though he doesn't know what he's doing and he's not ready. So this is a track with a lot of social commentary. And to me, he came across as very sincere and not bitter. Like, he really just seemed like he had a lot that he wanted to say. He got it out on this track. His flows were on point, as you would expect from Joey, and he's dropping gems all through this one. So I think this track was really dope, and I would give it a 4 out of 5, man. Definitely something that you want to check out if you haven't, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Joey's going to do with his next album. So there you have it. Episode 3 of The Rundown is in the books. I know my voice was cracking a bit throughout this, but I've just been battling a cold for the past week or so, so hopefully I can get that shit fixed. But coming up, we got the Migos dropping in a couple of days. That'll be getting a full review. I don't know how in-depth it'll be because they don't really rap about too much that's important or interesting. But you know what? I'll give it a full review anyway, since it's such a big project that people have been waiting for, and they've dropped a lot of singles leading up to it, including Bad and Bougie with that horrible Lil Uzi Vert verse, which is one of the worst verses I think I've ever heard in my life. I could probably do a whole video on that, but I'm not gonna. So we're gonna wrap it up. We got Common B coming up on the archives as well. All kinds of good shit. I know the channel is changing a bit, but thank you guys for sticking around and staying tuned. I think we're gonna do a lot of great things coming up this year, so we'll see what happens. Thank you for watching. Do all that good YouTube and social media stuff where you like my videos, you share them, you follow me on Twitter, you retweet the videos, and of course, man, you gotta subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.